Well, thank you for joining us for today's virtual Backpacks to Briefcases, Build Your Personal Brand. I'm Greg Berry, Assistant Director in the UAB Office of Alumni Affairs. Just a quick disclaimer, since this is a virtual discussion, please don't be surprised if you see things that seem out of place. Also, in order to be mindful of our guests, I would like to ask everybody to remain muted. So, did you know you have a personal brand, but you just might not really know it? As part of this webinar, we will explore how to develop your personal brand so it can stand out amongst the crowd. Today, we're going to welcome Sam Miller. In 2003, Sam earned his MBA from the UAB Collatz School of Business. He is currently Vice President at Burton Advertising here in Birmingham and a member of the UAB National Alumni Society Board of Directors. Sam also works as an adjunct professor here at UAB. Welcome, Sam. And before I turn things over for Sam's presentation, I'm going to pop up a poll for everybody to take a look at. We want to know if you're aware of your personal brand. I'll keep the poll up for a few moments so you can submit your answers. You have three options: yes, no, or you're just unsure. After Sam's presentation, we will have time to ask questions, so be sure to submit them through the chat box. And let's go ahead and show you the poll results. Basically, we're all over the place. Some of you know you have a personal brand, some of them not so sure, now they're just flat out no. So at this time, I am going to turn things over to Sam. Welcome, Sam.
All right, let me go ahead and share here. Well, welcome to everybody. I can't see you. I'm going to do my best to go ahead and get going. Can everybody hear me okay? Some thumbs up there? Okay. All right. Well, thank you for having me. This is always an interesting topic for me. I'm in the marketing business, have been in marketing and advertising for over 20 years. And so typically, my job is to think about marketing and advertising other people. And so when the Alumni Society reached out to talk about how people can better market themselves and be aware of their personal brand, this has been an interesting process to go through. So I want to talk about something that Greg just kind of hit on. Whether you know it or not, you already have a personal brand. We're going to talk about developing it a little bit, but we're really going to talk about how you curate it, how you caretake it, how you grow it, and how you make it work for you. So there's going to be three real areas that we'll look at. The first is, what is a brand? As Greg mentioned, I am a marketing professor, so you're going to get a little bit of a lecture here. So be prepared for that on branding. For my marketing students that are in here, you'll have to forgive me. And then we'll look at, what does a brand say about you? And then being your own brand. So the first thing is what is a brand? That's where to start. When you're thinking about a brand for yourself, we'll take a step back and look at maybe some easy ways to understand what that means in a bigger picture. I think the easiest way that I can sum it up is, it's what people say about you when you're not in the room. That applies whether you're a company, whether you're a person, whether you're a business. It's the feeling that is evoked when people think about you. It's what they say when they talk about you. So a little question and answer. Who knows this brand? We all know this brand, right? We've been eating there since we were little kids. We probably all recognize the red and yellow Happy Meal box. This is McDonald's. It's one of the biggest brands in the world. Who knows what their product is? Anybody offer a guess at what McDonald's product is? Mac?
Food.
Food. All right, I've been told I've got a color box on my screen. Is there something I need to turn off?
Sam, there's a small color, looks like the color wheel down at the bottom of your screen showing, the one you're sharing. It looks like, yeah, there it is.
There we go. Sorry. Okay. So Mac says that the brand of McDonald's, their product is food, hamburgers and French fries. Well, their chief executive officer says McDonald's, when it's at its best, is much more than just burgers and fries. And that kind of gets into the essence of what a brand is. You know, we think about cheeseburgers, we think about French fries, we think about the memories that come from, you know, those Happy Meals. But here is some of their brand imagery. Just run through some of the things they're doing, and you'll see that in their corporate messaging, you don't see a lot of hamburgers and French fries. You see a lot of faces, a lot of imagery. Again, a lot of things that take a typical food product and look at them in a different way. That picture in the lower right, this icon there, the Happy Meal box, is one of my favorite brand images. It's one of the most iconic branding elements that any corporation has done. And I think you see from those examples that, you know, whether you're 85 or 45 or 5, McDonald's certainly puts a lot of time and energy and invests a great deal into making sure that you feel a certain way when you think about their products. So Ad Age said about McDonald's that they grew up on a paid advertising model, but now, you know, there's a much wider array of touch points, and everything from packaging to the digital ad experience can be a positive or negative. And that's something I want us to remember when we take this down to the U level, that this is a really important point about McDonald's, that there was a time when it was growing where all they had to do was put commercials on TV. And they were known for hamburgers and French fries. But that world has changed, and they are accessible in so many different ways. There are so many different touch points with their customers, and they have to always be considerate of all of them. So how about these brands? We all know these as well, right? Again, think about these brands not just in terms of their product, but their role in our society. Think about Nike and their step into the social platform a couple years ago with their endorsement of Colin Kaepernick. That shows their brand strength to be able to be a shoe company that is also actively engaged in social justice. That is a very, very powerful thing. And, you know, I'm sure when they made their first pair of Nike tennis shoes off the waffle iron in Oregon in 1979, they couldn't have imagined the voice that they would wind up having as that brand grew. Again, think about Disney, think about Apple, think about the way you use their products, but also what these companies, these logos mean in our society. They mean a lot more than just the products that they offer. So each of these brands creates a reaction. They make you feel something, and they have a place in society. Now, how about you? Because you have a brand as well. And so what is the reaction that you create? And that's what we'll talk about tonight. So, you know, we're all connected to UAB in some way. I understand most everybody here is a student or working towards graduation. You know, if you are, what are you studying to be? We have any marketing students here? Accounting, engineering, medicine, science, art? It doesn't really matter what you want to be, what career you are pursuing. The important thing is to think, when you think about your brand, from your person first out into the application of what it is that you want to do. And the product of all of these various careers, all of these jobs, all of these businesses, all of these industries ultimately is people. And that's where you come in. And that's where we all have a tremendous amount of power that sometimes, we don't look from the vantage point of ourselves first. We look through the lens of, the world outside in towards us instead of the other way around. And so it's important to remember that you are the product. Your talent, your intelligence, your motivation, your experience, and all of those things together inform what your brand is. And this is something that I think is really important to remember. And I graduated college in 1997, so that makes me really old. When I took business classes in college, the idea was almost that you graduate high school, you get on the conveyor belt, you go through college, you learn some things, and then the conveyor belt continues and you go to work for a company. And your identity becomes what part you play in that company. And at that time, it was not uncommon for people to work their entire lives for one company, never make a change. People my age, that was very, very common for our parents. And so, I think that one thing that technology has done, one thing that our business evolution has done over the last couple of decades is really change that mindset. And one of the things that I always like to tell young people when I talk to them about their career is to not think about the business that they want to go into, the job that they specifically want, but to understand that you are your own business already. You are the sum of your talents, your experience, your worth. You determine what your value is. You can sell that to a company that wants to hire you if that's what you want to do. Or you can go look for another offer. You can go look for a better deal. You are your own business that you will continue to grow of your professional career. And your brand really plays an important part of that. So your business already has a brand. And now our question is to look at what is it that the best brands do? They have visibility. They know their audience. They make you feel something. Think back to McDonald's, Nike, Disney, Apple, the ones we looked at earlier. Now think about these. In our state, these are all very powerful brands that evoke some emotion. Those three logos on the right mean a lot to people. Think about what those logos mean to you, depending on, do they evoke memories of where you grew up, what you did on Saturdays? Do they evoke memories of or thoughts about what you want to do with your future? Working right to left, the Coke and Pepsi evoke strangely powerful emotions in people. Those are strong, recognizable brands that a lot of these don't need names for you to know what they are. You think about the MasterCard and the freedom that came with the first time you realized you had some financial flexibility. Memories of the Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts as you grew up. Again, Nike. Amazon that has gone, from an online bookseller to basically an internet of its own. These are strong brands that can be small or they can be big, but all of them are powerful in their own way. They all make you feel something. So let's talk about having visibility. And we'll start by saying you have got a lot more visibility than you think you do. So I said, again, I graduated college in 1997. This was my visibility. This is a fake resume here, but I had a white sheet of paper with black ink that I would put in the mail and send to any company that I had an address for, hoping that they would open it up and actually read it and maybe pick up the phone and call me to come talk to them. That was about the extent of how you could get your foot in the door with people that you didn't know, to make connections in a traditional sense and try and find job prospects. Now, you can't get away from the connections that you have to other people. And you are already visible in so many ways that you don't realize. The pictures you post, the reviews that you leave on Yelp, your portfolios of whatever they may be on Behance, the things that you look at on LinkedIn, the games you play on Twitch, like Mac, the lighting fixtures that he likes on Pinterest. Those things are collected and they become the picture, the digital picture of you online that people can create. Again, you have got a lot more visibility than you think you do when you stop to think about it. So let's think about this guy. Everybody knows LeBron James. He's the best basketball player in the world. He's also one of the best personal branders on the planet. Everybody knows what a great basketball player he is, but if you follow him on social media, it's not really about basketball. It's a really intimate look into his family life. You see him and his kids. You see that they eat tacos every night, every Tuesday night. There are so many personal things that I know about LeBron James from Instagram that I would have never known because he's curating this important information about him. All of those things feed back to a broader picture of who he is. His off the court likability ultimately sells more jerseys, it sells more tickets, probably keeps him in this game a little bit longer, and it certainly helps to inflate the business of LeBron James beyond just what his incredible basketball abilities are. So here are a couple examples of, say, knowing your audience. So my guy here on the left is a college student somewhere in California, and has built an online following by drinking entire bottles of liquor without stopping. So it's probably not relative to you and what you want to do with your life. This young fella is in college about 50 miles to our west, and here he is, made a social media video about having a 0.35 blood alcohol level after he got out of the hospital. This gets picked up on a social media account with 10 million followers, which gets picked up on 2 others. And then, you can look and see, this video of this young guy bragging about his blood alcohol levels now been seen over 1.2 million times. So that's something that doesn't go away. Again, you've got a lot more visibility than you think you do. And it's hard to walk something like that back unless it's exactly what you're trying to do. The guy on the right, I bet he's probably regretting that decision. The guy on the left has made a business and a career out of doing all this crazy stuff. He has become his own brand because there is a market for this. And even though I don't like watching it, he has made a successful niche for himself by going down that path. Not anything I fully understand, but it shows an interesting decision. So I want to talk about my daughter real quick. And I actually like to use her as an example of someone who knows her audience. So this is my daughter, Macy, when she was 2 at Disney World. And from the minute she walked in the park, she fell in love with the idea of Disney, the brand of Disney, everything Disney. And she has never wavered from that moment about wanting to work and have a career with Disney. So this is her graduating from high school last year. And when the day after high school, she came home and her hair had changed colors and it was pink, which was a deal she had made with her mother that she could have pink hair after she graduated from high school. So I was left out of that discussion process because I do not like the idea of pink hair. I didn't like it at all. She had all this stuff going for her. She'd had scholarship opportunities and this amazing future. And I walk in and there's my little girl who I picture with Snow White, and she's got this bright pink purple hair. It was a little bit of a shock. But then I thought about it. And I thought about what it is that she wants to do. She wants to work for Disney. She is an artist. She's an accomplished artist who has built an online following for her artwork. And ever since she's been a little kid, she's been fascinated with creating art, publishing it, and in particular, she's been really smart about knowing how to get her art in the hands of people that have huge followings, like the Hamilton cast, or like when she goes to Disney and gets something that Disney shares on their social media. And so, while I didn't love the pink hair, these are the guys she's always wanted to work for. These are the founders of Pixar. So it's been her life's dream ever since that day she walked into the Magic Kingdom to work for Disney. So when you look at these guys, and if that's the audience, and this is who she ultimately wants to be a part of, do you think they care if she's got pink hair? I think they almost might be disappointed if she didn't have pink hair. So even though it wasn't my favorite thing as a dad, I certainly got some respect for her doing it. You know, this guy made his own decisions and went with his own path, and it's not anything I would want for my kid by any stretch. It's worked for him, and, you know, in a way, it's worked for Macy. My daughter moved to California to go to art school. She got a job with Disney, largely in part because she got the interview because of her Instagram page and her Instagram following and the amount of art that was on there that was related to Disney. And, you know, she has been, you know, before the age of 20, able to kind of live out her dream and see this great path before her that she's really excited about. And part of that, part of the reason that happened is because she was able to show her passion. You know, great brands, remember, make you feel something. So she showed passion. She built relationships with other artists online through Instagram. When I was a kid, you know, I loved to collect baseball cards, and I could tell you the stats off of every 1987 Topps baseball card. That's not worth a ton. You know, her passion was these Disney artists and the Pixar artists and the people that she wanted to be with. And so she would kind of fearlessly reach out to them. She'd see their name in the credits of a Pixar movie and then start following them and start trying to have a dialogue. And that passion has helped her to get to where she wants to be through the development of a personal brand, pink hair or not. And so you show your passion in, you know, there's nothing novel here. You show your passion by being enthusiastic about the things that you want to do. And I think we all can say that what we do professionally is not the sum of who we are. We have other interests, and those are just as important. Being passionate about anything is very powerful to a potential employer to look and see somebody that cares and gives their dedication to what they're doing, no matter what it is. So I encourage you to create, to share, make mistakes and start over, reinvent, but most importantly, find the things that you like to do and do them, because that is something that is really apparent in your brand. So building relationships. You know, this is that word of mouth marketing. It's important. It's who your network of friends are, colleagues, clients, customers, peers. You know, again, remember what these people say about you when you're not in the room is the value of your brand. And that's really important to nurture. That goes back to finding the things that you want to do and finding ways to engage with the people that are already doing that. Again, give people something that they want more of. And here it's important to remember, a medium does not equal a message. So having a Twitter account and not posting anything, a medium doesn't equal a message. So having that account but not using it to express yourself is not the same thing. And there are some real suggestions here that there are so many opportunities to write blogs and get your name on a byline. Become an expert. Curate your content. Go back and parse out the things that you think you may have posted in the past that may not fit where you want to go in the future. And that's a part of remembering that your brand is always on. And that's, somebody can, I see one of the folks that works with us here on the Zoom call. When we brought her in to interview, I think I was looking at her Instagram page before she was even pulling out of the driveway of our office after her first interview, because we were so interested in, it was apparent early she could do the job that we needed. We wanted to know more about her as a person. So that never turns off. That brand is always on. So you are already your own business. And we kind of started there fundamentally that, you are the business of yourself. So what is your brand? You're a brand that's authentically you. You're in charge of it. There's no single right path. There's no one way through. It is being very conscious and managing the things that people can see about you, the relationships that you have, to the end that you want it to go. And as we kind of wrap up this part, I want to talk about a brand attribute that we have that binds everybody on this call. And sometimes it's something that we kind of overlook, but I think it's really important for all of us and everybody that has been a part of this institution to understand that the brand that binds us is UAB. And I'll do a quick value assessment of this piece of your brand. There are 4,298 colleges in America. Ours is a state institution. And what that means is there are 50 state systems. Each state has got one. So, we are the University of Alabama at Birmingham. Each state has got a University of Michigan or North Carolina or California. We're a directional part of that. We are part of that state institution, which means that anywhere you go in the country and say that you're a graduate of the University of Alabama at Birmingham, people will immediately understand what that means. We're one of 131 Carnegie One research institutions in the country. So out of that 4,298, only 131 institutions have received this designation based on the amount of research that happens at the university. If I were to list the other 130, you would know every single one of them. UAB is an amazing company here with Harvard and Princeton and every Ivy League school. A lot of the state institutions, the biggest and most prestigious universities in the United States are in this list of 131 Carnegie One research institutions. Only one of those 131 is younger than UAB. So think about that. You are a part of a network attached to a university that is absolutely elite. And it has accomplished more in less time than most of the elite institutions in the country. We're a top 12 young university in the world. And in each of the last 2 years have been named the top young university in the United States. So when you think about your degree and you think about where you have invested this time of your life at UAB for your education, it is so important to feel the sense of pride that should come with all of that, because you have a degree from an institution that is known for youth, diversity, entrepreneurship, and innovation. And when you proudly list UAB on your resume, when you go places and talk about your experience at UAB, when you talk about your time at UAB, you are automatically branding yourself with those ideals. So you're your own business, and what are you going to do to grow your business today through your personal brand? That's it. Just encourage you to think about yourself from yourself outward instead of the world outside and where you fit into it.
Great input, Sam. We will open things up for questions. If you want to toss your questions in the chat box, we will definitely get to them. Sam, so can you change your brand, and how do you change your brand over the course of time?
Well, that's a great question, and it is, marketing history is littered with companies that have successfully pivoted from being perceived in one way to another. Again, I'll go back to the McDonald's example, which was viewed as it built as a economical family restaurant, low-end food, which now is, as you saw, in the clothing business, is in the tourism business, is in the global expansion business, is a destination restaurant in other parts of the world. That's just one example. Again, Nike, another, started making tennis shoes for track runners off of a waffle iron. And now, what is it that Nike's known for? I don't know that anybody would, you think of Michael Jordan and you think of the shoes and you think of the athletic products and all of the partnerships that they have, but along with that, you think of their role in the social landscape. And, that's a really important change over time for an individual. It's easy if you've not been actively promoting your brand or thinking about, what it means to have one, to begin to think actively about the things that you post, the apps that you use, the information that you're putting out, the relationships that you have. It's very easy to make that change, to become more active.
How do you navigate social media branding in an authentic way?
I may ask for a little more detail on that question.
Okay.
How do you navigate?
Crystal, if you want to put a little bit more in there, we will get back to that question. Another question is, as part of business, personal branding for business, how do you decide what to do yourself versus have a social media company do for outsourcing?
That is a great question. And Greg, that's something we talked about this morning. If you're a small business, our ad agency, I think, represents about 60 clients over social media. By far, the best social media profiles that we have and are able to develop are with the clients that understand it's not something that you can hand off and hope just gets done without your input. Nobody knows your business like you know your business. And so, I wouldn't look at it as I need to send this to a social media company to do this for me. More of I need a social media company or an ad agency or somebody to work with me as a partner to help facilitate my ideas and the things that I know about my business better than anyone else. I mentioned Greg and I talked about that this morning. The National Alumni Society is really, really good at understanding who they are, who they're talking to, at their place in the social media landscape. And so when we've done work with them, it's really easy. It's so much easier to work with an engaged partner than it is with somebody that wants to hand things off and just kind of cross their fingers and hope that things work out best. Always stay in the driver's seat.
Doubling back to how you navigate social media branding in an authentic way, not just selling a product, but being able to engage people.
Okay. How to engage a social media brand? How do you use a social media brand? Well, I think that depends on what your comfort level is entirely. And, the social media channels that are out there really do different things. They're always evolving. Their audiences are changing. Their algorithms are changing. And I think, it depends on what you're interested in. So to go back to the Instagram example, if I'm an artist, I like Instagram because Instagram speaks in the language of photos. It's not real content driven. Your images don't get lost amidst the news of what your next door neighbor thinks about the coronavirus. It is an image-based platform that is native and natural for artists and musicians, for creative people. Facebook is a little different. Its reach is broader. Its reach is massive if you want to use that, but it is a little bit more personal. It is a little bit more text driven. Twitter, probably on the opposite end of the spectrum, when you're a little bit boxed in to make a shorter statement about something or to react to something. It's a little bit more news driven. And so your content on Twitter, whether you intend it to be or not, is naturally a little bit more political because it is more of a news-based social application. So to round back to it, I think it goes back to understanding the purposes of the social media channels and brands, where they fit in the landscape, and which of those is the best fit for you. I mean, I can tell you, I have kind of graduated through the different channels. I worked at UAB in 2006 when Facebook was brand new. And you had to have a .edu email address in order to have a Facebook account. And I worked in the athletic department, and I was one of the first people to get a Facebook account because it was a part of my job to monitor the things our student athletes were putting on Facebook. So if one of them put something out there that they shouldn't have, we could go talk to them and say, hey, you probably shouldn't do that. Early on, before Facebook blew up, we were having media training sessions with our student athletes about understanding this new tool, understanding, the good and bad of it. As I've been in the advertising business and creative business, Instagram's a little bit more of a fit there. And, again, I mean, with so much going on in our society now, and with everything that's been happening in our landscape over the last several months, the engagement on Twitter has become a little bit more interesting to me, and I'm probably more active on LinkedIn than I am any other social media channel, certainly professionally.
So in times of divisive political environment for healthcare branding, how do you avoid controversy or embrace it? And I think you can even just talk about how you avoid controversy or embracing it, period, over social media and in life in general when you're branding yourself.
Well, that's really difficult in healthcare right now, and it's something that we work with on a regular basis with with a couple clients of ours, because something that would not generally be considered political 4 months ago is considered highly political now. I think that there's a very careful approach that you need to take to everything that you say, every message that's put out. That's not a great answer. I don't know, without knowing the specific situation, what to say other than just to be incredibly thoughtful about each piece of information that goes out, large or small. Again, to go back to the McDonald's application, which only really applies to healthcare in the sense of what their CEO said about all the different touch points, all the different ways that people can form opinions about your brand and your product. It's just so critically important to be aware of all the ways that you're touching people and to be careful about the things that are said across that spectrum.
Here's a question that kind of goes in our age bracket, Sam. How do you spin being over 45 as a good thing?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
How do you spin being over 45 as a good thing?
How do I spin that? I typically don't. Personally, I typically don't. I really want my hair back. You mean, how do you spin that as a part of your professional brand? I think it goes back to, again, thinking about your brand as the sum of what you are. And, in my business, experience is critically important. To be able to sit across from somebody and get them to have confidence in the direction that you're giving them. And that is so largely based on the experience that you have. And I think that that's a really important thing for all of us old people to keep in mind, that, in my case, we traded hair for experience. And that is an important part of what the brand is.
We're not that old, Sam. We're not that old. Do you have any tips on best practices, how to build an audience from the ground up?
Yes. And that is a fantastic question. We work with clients across the spectrum of different industries, and we get the same question all the time, no matter the industry, is, I'm ready to start posting. I'm ready to be active. But there's not a commitment to understanding that if you don't first build that audience, if you don't build the audience as you begin posting, then, it is if a tree falls in the woods and there's no one there to hear it, did it make a sound argument over and over and over again. You can want to be a stand-up comedian and have the wittiest post ever, and if no one sees it, if there's no audience there, what has it done for you? And so consciously being aware of building that audience is important. That goes back to that network. That goes back in a way to the example of showing your passion for the topic, finding the people that are widely followed in whatever medium you want to be a part of, in whatever profession you want to be a part of, and trying to develop those relationships. We're really seeing a lot of this right now of, all it takes is one retweet from the right person to begin to really build your audience. The athletic department at UAB uses a system called Open Doors. And this is a kind of a model that may apply on a smaller level. So Open Doors understands that if you're the UAB athletic department, you've got 24 alumni that are playing professional sports in the NFL and Major League Baseball, who have been in the NBA or have big followings overseas. They understand that those athletes are also tied to the brands of the professional teams that they play for. And that when we produce a video for the athletic department, and we really want it to be pushed out to a broad audience, we go into this open door system, which then goes and secures retweets and likes and shares from this network of professional athletes and people associated with the athletic department that have broad followings. It's a really great product, but the idea is so simple. The idea and how smart it is all comes back to what we just said, which is getting your message into the right hands is really, really important. And that's your network.
So sticking with audiences, is it easy to change your audience?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's no part of this that I think, you can become a Twitter celebrity overnight or, become Instagram famous or become an influencer without, again, working to be a part of the network that you desire to become a part of. Finding the people that have not the brand you want to emulate, but maybe some of the brand characteristics. And finding, really studying what it is that they're doing, picking up some of those things as you go, connecting with them, working with them. But if that is if you're wanting to change that audience and kind of make that pivot, again, that goes to finding the people that are doing the things that you want to pivot towards and kind of studying and what they're doing and figuring out how you can become a part of their network.
Sam, thank you so much for all of the insight tonight. Thank you for being with us, sharing your Tuesday evening with us, and being a part of tonight's webinar.
Thank y'all.
So just a heads up to our guests, a recording of today's webinar will be available online tomorrow. And be sure to register for upcoming webinars sponsored by the UAB National Alumni Society. This Thursday, we'll be taking a look at UAB's new interdisciplinary graduate studies degree. Dean Lori McMahon will be joined by others from the graduate school to share how the program can benefit you. Then on July 23rd, we will welcome Dr. Stephanie Yates to discuss financial security, how to survive uncertain times. And on August 4th, Brandon Wright from the UAB Career Center will join us and interviewing electronically the do's and don'ts. We also have a trivia night coming up on August 11th. All of those can be registered at alumni.uab.edu. And don't forget to check out our UAB Green and Told podcast. Give us a chance to share stories from members of the UAB community. New episodes drop every other week. Listen in on Spotify and iTunes or visit alumni.uab.edu/greenandtold. Also interact with us on social media. We can be found at UAB Alumni on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. On LinkedIn, search UAB Alumni Career Community. Finally, you can contact us. Just email us at alumni@uab.edu or visit us online at alumni.uab.edu. Once again, thank you so much for joining us for tonight's discussion with Sam Miller. Good night. We hope to see you soon, and go Blazers.